Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into how the new AEV5 guidelines are really pushing for EV infrastructure in new construction.
Yeah, it's a big shift.
So if you want to get up to speed quickly on this part of green building, well, you're definitely in the right spot. And hey, if you like staying informed, hit subscribe now to hear more about this world.
Absolutely.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive. Let's unpack what LEED V5 is actually asking for when it comes to EV charging and EV readiness for those new projects trying to get AD certified.
Well, the core idea, the intent behind this LE credit, it's really about encouraging the use of electric vehicles. Simple as that.
Makes sense. Reduce pollution from regular cars.
Exactly. So it is basically saying, look, transportation emissions are a huge part of the building's overall environmental impact, so let's tackle it.
Okay, so how do they, make that happen in the standard? What are the options?
Right, there are two main paths, two options here. Option one is about installing the actual chargers, the electric vehicle supply equipment, or EVSE.
And you get points based on how many you install.
Precisely. It's based on the percentage of your total parking spaces that have these chargers installed. More chargers, more points.
All right, give us the numbers. What are we talking for, say, commercial buildings?
Okay, for commercial, if you equip at least 5% of your parking spots, and that has to be at least 2 spots, you get 1 point.
1 point for 5%, minimum 2. And for 2 points.
You double it, basically. 10% of the spaces with a minimum of 4 actual chargers installed gets you 2 points.
Gotcha. And residential, different targets there.
Yeah, a bit higher. For residential projects, it's 10% for 1 point, minimum 5 spaces, though.
Minimum 5, okay.
And then 15% for 2 points, with a minimum of 10 spaces needing chargers.
Okay, and I'm guessing these aren't just like standard wall plugs?
Oh, definitely not. They've got specific requirements. We're talking level 2 or even level 3 charging.
So faster charging.
Much faster. They need to run on 240 volts or higher. Plus, they have to be Energy Star certified.
Ah, the efficiency angle.
Right. And that certification also means they're smart.
Yeah.
They can respond to time-of-use signals from the utility, which helps manage grid load.
Important detail. Anything else for the chargers themselves?
Yes, accessibility. At least one charging space has to be accessible, meeting specific design requirements like width and access aisle dimensions. Ensures everyone can use them.
Makes sense. Okay, that's option 1. Install the chargers. What's option 2? You mentioned EV readiness.
Exactly. Option 2 is called electric vehicle readiness. This one nets you 1 point.
And it sounds like preparing for the future. Future-proofing.
That's the perfect way to put it. You're not putting in the charger itself, but you are installing all the necessary electrical backbone so a charger can be easily added later.
Okay, so what does EV ready actually involve? What infrastructure needs to be there?
You need to install a dedicated electrical circuit for each EV-ready space. It needs to be 208, 240 volts, just like for option 1.
And the power capacity.
It needs a 40-amp panel capacity for that circuit. That's generally enough juice for a standard level 2 charger down the line. And crucially, you have to run the conduit, the piping for the wires, and pull the actual wiring through it, ending at a junction box or an outlet right there at the parking space.
So the connection point is ready and waiting.
Ready and waiting. Just need to hook up the charger itself when the time comes.
Okay, quick clarification. If I install a full charger under option 1, can I also count that space towards my EV ready percentage for option 2?
No, good question. They're mutually exclusive for any given space. A space is either counted towards installed EVSE or towards EV ready, not both.
Got it. So how many spaces need to be EV ready for option 2? What are the percentages there?
Again, it differs for commercial and residential. For commercial buildings, you need at least 10% of your parking spaces to be EV ready, or a minimum of 10 spaces you have to meet, whichever number is greater.
10% or 10 spaces, whichever's bigger.
Okay.
And residential.
Higher again. For residential, it's at least 20% of the spaces, or a minimum of 20 spaces, again, whichever number is greater.
Wow, 20% or 20 spaces. That's a significant jump for new residential.
It is. It really shows a push towards making future EV adoption much easier in homes.
And importantly, a project can choose option 1, option 2, or even do both, right? It's an and/or type deal.
That's correct. You could aim for, say, 5% fully equipped spaces for 1 point under option 1 and make another 10% EV ready for another point under option 2. You can mix and match to suit the project and maximize points.
It's fascinating how these technical specs really ripple outwards. If you're involved in development, planning, even just interested in sustainability, this stuff matters.
It absolutely does. It's changing how we think about parking, about building infrastructure, about mobility itself.
Yeah, really makes you picture the parking garage of, say, 2035. What does that look like?
Well, probably a lot more plugs. But seriously, LED V5 is laying down clear pathways for this integration. It's giving developers concrete steps, whether that's installing chargers now or paving the way for them later.
So, wrapping up the key takeaway here. LED5 gives you these clear tiered options: installing chargers now, EVSC, or setting up the wiring for later, EV ready, with specific targets for commercial and residential. It's pushing the industry forward.
Definitely. And it leads to that bigger question, doesn't it?
Which is,
As easy adoption keeps climbing, which it seems certain to do, how will these standards and maybe even building codes evolve even further to keep pace?
a really interesting thought to leave people with. How much further will this go? If you want to keep track of these kinds of changes and stay ahead, make sure you subscribe to hear more about this world.